Hello, and welcome to our next episode of Let's Talk About It. We're here to investigate incest and destigmatize childhood sexual crimes. Many people don't want to talk about it. We do. With me today, I'm so excited for my next guest. Her name is Juanita, and she's joining us from Wales. As I've been out on social media, I just wanted to start Juanita with I ran across this post and it just sparked my heart. And I'm going to read that for everyone right here. And Juanita posted a very emotional day for me today. I've been to my hometown with a lilac ribbon in my hair. On it, it reads, cherished memory of my stolen childhood. In time, I will be tying it to the school gates where I was abused. But for today, I took a picture from across the way. If you could bring us in, Juanita, to that story and um, let us understand with you what that post was about. It just so moved me, and I could tell that was a very moving day for you. So if you could just bring us into that moment.
Wow, do you know, at the very last moment, I decided to wear the ribbon,
I love
and
it. Oh, that's
it matched.
and that's the very ribbon, right, that you talk about. And I just
It's
love
the
that
very
post.
ribbon, yes.
It's the very ribbon.
So, yes. So, yeah, so I I was abused by the headmaster of my primary school. So I think you might have a different name for it there, but from sort of 3 upwards, up to 11, 10, 11. So
Wow.
I used to wear a lilac ribbon in my hair, and it was partly seeing, what are they called? Loud Fence do, where they tie ribbons to
Oh,
um,
right.
churches, institutions, yeah, but they're mainly churches. Not all churches, but mainly churches. But so it was partly from their idea, but then it just sparked me remembering about the lilac ribbon, and then I just wrote on it in cherished memory of my stolen childhood, and I signed it JP, like I would have done in school in my school books, JP, and yeah, and
So,
off I
so
went
you,
on it.
your abuse started at 3 years old in that school?
Between 3 and 5,
Yeah.
I can't say that I specifically remember the age, but between 3 and 5, yes.
And
Yeah,
so
sexual
what,
abuse.
right. So what did it was the headmaster you said, and what did his grooming look like then? You're a small child. He's an authoritarian
Yeah,
figure. What kind of grooming
yeah.
did he give you in those early years?
So just full of praise. Everyone would have said that he was, so brilliant with the children, so amazing with the
Mm,
children. He's always got so much time for them. Very involved with one with the school where he was at, but he really embedded himself into society around that. So it's a little small village there that I went to school in, and I'm rural where I am, so sparsely populated anyway. And I feel like I lost my threads with that.
it's okay. So
Oh,
did
so he would just
keep going?
he
You're
yeah, so
fine.
he embedded himself in with everyone. So he just made himself. So he used music as a tool to get
Mm,
access to me. So he used to do all the music lessons. So he was the music teacher. He was also very involved with the church. And I think he probably abused, even though I don't know about anybody else abused by him, but I'm sure that there would be, and that he would use any way that he can. A Welsh speaker as well. So, and
right.
yeah,
So he
just used.
brought you into, I notice a lot that they bring us into this secret world with them. So in these music lessons, did you feel very special to him? And you had this, so this was the time that he created then to abuse you during these lessons?
Yes, yes, yeah. So it started off with abuse in the school, and then actually being abused in the school. And then that progressed over time to then coming to give me music lessons at home. So then he was coming to my home address as well. and then just
Okay.
became very involved with my family. He'd use sweets as well. He'd give like so he'd always have sweets in the back of the car, and I just it's yeah, horrible, horrible memories. But he'd give us a flake that I always remember. I defiantly will buy a flake now and again. I don't know if you have a flake there, but just a certain chocolate bar. But I
Mhm.
couldn't even in a few years. We just and you still get triggered with that memory, but I
Right.
hopefully I've flipped it a bit, whereas before I couldn't even just, just want to throw up at the thought of it. Um, but now, yeah, it's like sometimes I'll just buy one of those, like in defiance.
Yeah, I understand that the association, right, is repulsive,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
love that you use the word vile because it is vile. And so this abuse continued then until you were 8 years old?
It continued up until I was 13.
Oh, until you were
So because he was still coming to
13.
the school. Yes. So I actually left that school where he was the headmaster. I actually left the school when I was about 9. But because we were in the same area, he was then just coming to the home address again, carrying on. He even came to my grandparents one time, um,
And what were
bringing
the
the music sheet.
adults saying? Where was your mother in this whole thing?
Mum was they were right there. How much my mum it's really hard. I still to this day, I don't know how much my mum knew or didn't know.
Mm,
She said that she's made out she didn't know, but I don't know. But then other people around didn't know, like my grandparents didn't get everyone was so charmed by him.
right,
It was almost like, as if we were privileged that he was coming to the door to come
right.
and, to come and bring a music sheet to her. It's almost like, aren't we so lucky? That's yeah, completely phased.
They
People
are
completely phased.
they are masters at disguise,
Yeah,
and they're masters at
yeah,
manipulation. And
yeah.
was there what do you feel prohibited you from telling what was happening to you?
So I I always had the feeling if I just knew deep down inside if I told, I would I would be killed. So I don't
Mm,
know if somebody told me that,
mhm.
but it was so deep rooted in me that I wouldn't have dreamed of telling. Um, but also my mother was extremely difficult. Um, she's just she's really hard to describe, but not stable at all. So I felt like as well, it wasn't safe to let her know. It wouldn't be
Mhm.
safe to let her know. She literally would have used it. I feel like she would have used it as one of her part of her, I don't know, um, just part of her life then, and I would have been completely disregarded within it. It would have been detrimental to me.
So she
So
was very absorbed in herself and that sort of thing.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I ask often where mothers are because I've noticed, Juanita, that mothers are not, it doesn't matter what country you live in. If mothers were close to their children, these crimes would be stopped, right? Because they'd be talking to you, they'd be involved
yeah,
in what your daily, often we don't show signs, but we do show some signs, right? I mean, if anybody ever asked us the right question, I think we would tell.
yeah.
Do you think if somebody would have asked you?
Yeah, if things had been a lot different, then there would have been a
Mhm.
lot different outcome. Yeah, one not having the words, so it's not
Mhm.
not being spoken about at all. So
Right.
it's just you just don't even. I remember not even just having no words to put to what was happening.
Well, and that's
Yeah,
actually right. That's very accurate what you said. A child, especially at that age, that tender age that he started with you, we don't have words for that, right? And nobody gives
yeah,
us words for that, which I
yeah,
think part of our discussions we want to help people start using those words with their children and saying things that are inappropriate and wrong and to tell. So tell me then, so this continued to 13 and he even came to your grandparents' home. So what made this abuse stop in your life ultimately?
To be honest, I don't really know what
Mm.
stopped it. We we moved again, but we were still in the same area. I don't know if I was just getting older and maybe I really don't know what happened. At
Mm.
11, I remember stopping the abuse going so far. So he used to, it's quite a bit graphic, but
That's
he used to
okay.
put his penis against me. He didn't actually put it insert it, he didn't put it inside me, but he put it right up against my vagina. And at 11, I started my periods, and I
Mm.
was frightened that him doing that, because I didn't know,
Hmm.
um, would maybe be enough to get me pregnant, and I didn't know, and obviously I couldn't ask anybody. So he came to visit one day, and there was nobody else there. I think quite often there was nobody else there, but I managed to say no. I was like, no, like you can't do that. And I think he must have, there was no conversation as to what was happening, but I think
Hmm.
he must have known that it was something like that because he didn't push it any further. But then he still kept visiting the home. So still kissing, cuddling, just, yeah, still. And bringing
Right.
gifts, still bringing gifts. So the last thing I remember him bringing me was more chocolate. That was,
Hmm.
but why it stopped, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, I'm presuming, but maybe he just found the
Right.
next,
Right.
maybe
So
else,
you were
yeah.
13 when it stopped then. So how did this
Yeah.
affect you as you're 13, you want to start dating and find boys? What did that feel like moving into those years where now you're becoming a young woman and want romantic
Yeah.
relationships? It's complicated, isn't it?
Yeah. See, and I was actually, what happened was then I just fell straight into more abuse.
Yeah. Talk to us about
So
that. Yeah, talk to us about that a little bit. I
so
think that's really important. I did the same thing, Juanita, and I think most of us
yeah,
do. It's all we know, right? So share a little bit
yeah.
about what that looked like.
So, my mother and father had split up mum and dad had split up at this point. So
Mhm.
mum had a new guy, and so we sort of partly lived with them on and off until mum found somewhere else to live. But so the new boyfriend abused me.
Oh,
Wanted to say slightly. We still do these crazy sort of like chat.
minimize. Yeah,
Yeah,
minimize.
yeah. But also his son, and I still struggle with this because I still feel like it was like my love affair. But
Oh,
his
yes.
son was like 20, 21, and so that's I was then involved with him
So both
for
the stepfather or the boyfriend, your mother's boyfriend and his son. And
yeah,
I just have to tell you that this is so often the case. To try to normalize that for you, that so many times because we've already been victimized, we fall right back into those roles. More often
yeah,
than not, actually, it feels like it's almost like I felt like I had this great big scarlet letter that said, abuse me.
yeah,
And abusers
yeah,
just came and I didn't know how to say no.
yes, there is that as well. Yeah, it was so difficult, that because I still yeah, to me in my mind trying to separate it, that actually, I'm 13, and it's like,
Right.
but I tell you what, I look when I look back on that as well, I feel like that the son, I feel like he was being groomed as much as everybody else,
Mm.
because my mum and his dad were pushing us together, were pushing me and his son together.
Oh,
So
interesting.
he wasn't actually pursuing me, and that's why I think he was actually being groomed to be an abuser.
by the parents. So when you talk
Yeah,
about, I want to go back when you tried to minimize what this grown man did to you at 13. Let's go back and talk
yeah.
about that for a minute. So you don't have to be graphic, but this, you wanted to minimize it. Is it for shame that we want to minimize, or is it, have you shared this a lot? What, I mean, who was this man and what did he do to you? It's terrible. You were 13.
Yeah, no, I haven't really shared it. No. Um, so, and you know what? It's made me think of my mum more actually, because I
Mhm.
remember her having a go at me as if I'm a grown woman, and she was jealous of the relationship with, even though she's it's I don't think she even knew what, she didn't know what had happened. It's like she wasn't there. But yeah, she was jealous. She knew that he was obviously, looking at me or whatever, in ways
Mhm.
that he shouldn't. Instead of just getting us, like being a mum and getting us out of there, she's then actually having to go at me
Wow.
because
Through
she's
jealousy and that,
jealous.
right.
She's
And
jealousy. It's absolutely crazy. It's
and this
crazy.
does show your mother's instability, because a mother who has the appropriate love and affection towards a daughter would not see her daughter through eyes of jealousy. It's not, you know, I don't want to talk against your mother, but that's not a normal response from a mother. A mother should not show jealousy, but should show that she wants to protect you.
Yeah.
And this boyfriend of your mother abuse you only one time or abuse you multiple times?
As far as I remember, he only abused me once. See, and I did it again. I catch myself now, though. He only did it
Right.
once. He did it
Right.
once.
Right. So
Yes.
so then his son, and so now, do they stay in your life for a long time, Juanita, or did they move on?
Uh, they didn't stay in our life for too long. No, it was all very. And do you know what? As time went on, so the the son, who I still to this day would call my like soul mate, weirdly. I want to say
Mm.
weirdly, and then I even feel bad when I say that, but he committed suicide years later,
Oh,
and
this boy did. Oh,
yes, yeah.
wow.
When so there was like I think there was a 7-year age difference between us. So when I'm 13, he was like 20, he came up to 21.
Oh,
But yeah, I don't think
wow.
it made it to his 30s. And then a few years after that, not that long after that at all, to be honest, um, I reported to the police the first time about abuse that I'd suffered as a child, because I'm now, I
Oh.
was then like maybe 22, 23. And then the father, the guy who had abused me, he then committed suicide as well.
Oh my goodness. So
They're both dead.
this was after you reported to the police?
Yes, it was
So
after I
so
reported
tell me
to.
what was going on in your life at 22 that made you determine that the abuse was severe enough and a crime that you were going to turn it in? How did you come to that understanding that it was time to go to the
22.
police?
I'm trying to think. Actually, it was later. I was 20. God, it gets confusing, doesn't it? Or it does for me anyway.
Yeah, it does for all of
So
us. No, it
it's
does.
like, well, hang on. So he committed suicide when I was 22, coming up to 23, and
Wow.
it took me until I was 27 to report. It was through meeting a friend who
Okay.
had been abused himself, and then so having somebody else to talk with who'd actually been
Mm,
through abuse themselves.
yes.
Um, and yeah, and just maybe the age I was, feeling a bit, well, far more confident than I had been. Um, I decided to go and report
And what
that.
happens? So you go in, you tell the police, and what happens then?
Absolutely dire. I wish I could say different, but so I reported the headmaster that had abused me, and while I was actually in the station giving the statements, another police officer came into the room to tell us that to stop everything because the guy that I was reporting to the headmaster had died a fortnight before.
Oh, what?
I know, it was
Wow.
absolutely devastating. So just I can't even,
Wow.
because on the one hand, it's like because people go, "Oh," as if that's a good thing, and it is,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I felt absolutely robbed. Like, it's taken me to then to, like, be able to come forward to actually get to report him, and he's died on me.
Wow.
It's just unbelievable. I always feel like it felt like a film while I was there. But anyway,
Right.
so the police wouldn't take, they literally stopped the interview there and then for that, for him. Even though I tried to say that because of his position, I wanted the school investigated.
Right.
Because even though I didn't know of anybody else there, it didn't mean that there wasn't anybody else there that might be
Hmm.
another abuser. But yeah, I just felt, yeah, literally that because of his position, that the school should be looked into. But I don't know if the law was different then. They have changed it since, but yeah, they wouldn't. They literally just stopped it. It was like, no, there's nothing to report because there's nobody to prosecute. That's how they looked.
Right. Right. Did you go to the school at that time and talk to them?
No, I've never actually been to the school. I want to go to the school, but I haven't got there yet.
Mm.
I wanted to have, I don't want to just sort of rock up just me. It's almost like I need, that's why I was hoping, what are these people called again? Loud Fence. I was hoping that Loud Fence might be able to help me to approach the school in like a professional manner,
Hmm.
because I think if I feel like it needs a little bit of weight behind me, or like maybe some a solicitor or something like that to approach them.
Hmm.
Even that feels like too, I don't know. I don't know. The jury's still out on that one as to what I do, but I do
Well,
want to do that.
right. And he is gone, but these institutions needed accountability around that abuse, right? How many children were in the school with you at that time?
Oh, I don't actually know. It's not a very big school because it's a little village, but I'd say there's at least 100 children to
Mm,
give to.
right.
Um, but he was an old guy, so I just think how long he'd been there. He was so well
Right.
practiced. You can It's a horrible thing to say, but you just, yeah,
No,
he'd been
I
doing that there for years.
so did you continuously remember this abuse, Juanita, or did for a time in your life did you kind of put it away through that kind of trauma, amnesia, denial, or was it always with you?
It was always with me, but
Mm,
certain bits, I even while I was in the interview room, when I started giving the my report about him, I had a flash, which is the
mm,
amnesia.
mhm,
I thought, how could I even forget that bit? He used to make me play with his nipples.
mm,
It's just, and I'd forgotten that, but that was
mhm,
part of it every time. That was part of his thing. So, and that flashed up to me as I was telling them about what had happened. But yeah, no, it had gone. So for years that had gone, but it was, yeah,
right. And people they don't understand that until you've lived it. Our minds are saturated, right? And so we can only
yeah,
take so much. And so
yeah.
how did this play out then in your relationships with men, or as you grew?
I don't know what the wording would be for it. It's it's no, it is. It's really hard to know what the word for it is. It's so difficult
Hmm.
because sex itself is difficult. Feeling like, yeah, having to tell people when you haven't really told anyone.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, boyfriend's probably like one of the first sort of people telling, and yeah, no, just awful. Really, just I can't even quite describe it. but it's so traumatic trying to tell it,
Mm-hmm.
because you're so worried about, you don't know how people are going to react. You don't know, you don't even understand what's happening to yourself. Never
Mm-hmm.
mind trying to then explain it to somebody else. And as I've gone on in my life, I find that I've now found, looking back, it's like everyone, virtually, I think virtually everyone I've been with has been another abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I'm sorry. I understand. I stayed,
yeah,
I'm almost 60, but and I'm in a good relationship now, but I have to tell you, I took 13 years off after my children's father because he was such an abuser. And then I'd get boyfriends that were abusers. And what actually got me into counseling was my relationships were such a disaster with men.
yeah, bless. Oh,
So
bless.
I can relate, Juanita. I think
Yeah,
many of us can, because some of the things that I felt during having sex, or even just all of that, if I was drinking and it felt dirty, I could enjoy it, but when it was supposed to be clean, then I had a hard time with it. Like, there was all of this complicated stuff for me around it, right? I never associated
yeah,
sex as this clean, beautiful thing. I just
yeah,
didn't, because I had been, just like you, this constant turmoil blocks our ability to see sex as a beautiful thing, right?
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
unfortunate. I mean,
yeah.
it's those lasting effects. Did you get into counseling then at 27 when you went to the police?
I I was having counselling on and off, but I can't remember when that started. But for, yeah, I've been in and out, in and out, in and out, of counselling. Um, but again, I don't think I was giving them the full story, because I still hadn't accepted it myself. It's like I'm still learning. I'm still learning
Mm-hmm.
as to what's even happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
yeah,
and
so it's been,
I think I was watching on Unfiltered Stories. They have a lot of people who have survived, and this one lady in the 50s was Miss America, and she talked about how her father abused her since she was a little girl until she was a teenager. And then she talked about how she had a day person and a night person, and she said people can't understand how the night person you forget about. She said 13 years of my life were just gone. And,
yeah,
it is the way that we
yeah.
survive, and it's a beautiful gift at the time. But unfortunately, our being wants to know, it needs to accept who we are and what's happened to us. And so as we get older, that task becomes harder and harder. Is that how it's feeling for you? I mean, more of our story starts coming out as we age.
Oh, it froze again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, you're back.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
that's annoying.
You know what? It is. It's okay though. We'll just clip those parts. So, did you hear my question?
No,
My question to you was, as we get older, it seems that our story wants to be more present in our life. It's harder for us to block the past. That's what I find. Can you talk about that a little bit?
so yes, absolutely. So in the last 2 years ago, um, I suddenly became conscious of being raped by a cousin. But
Mm,
this was not as a child, this was as an adult. This was me as an adult. So in reality, it had actually been 9 years previous,
mm,
but just over 2 years ago, I remembered that. And it absolutely, so this is where I'm still at now, where I'm still recovering
mhm,
from that, because I didn't know that I was suffering from amnesic episodes.
mhm,
Even though I'd had those flashes, they weren't enough for me to, but this was just absolutely beyond flooring.
mhm.
Decimating is the word I use for it. I couldn't carry on life as I had been doing the day before. It was as if it had just happened to me there and then, because I wasn't
Right,
conscious of it before that.
right.
So it
And
had just happened that night.
So, and you said though, I had flashes, but I didn't, those flashes weren't enough until then all of a
Yeah,
sudden you have this body, probably memory recall with all of the visual. And I understand that. But one of the things I think are so important for us as human beings that have gone through trauma is when we have those flashes, we need to stop and sit with those flashes. But what we do is kind of throw them away. I don't know where that came from. I don't want to see
yeah,
that. That's disgusting.
yeah,
That can't be real, right? That's vile. Go away from me. Instead of
yeah,
saying, what is that? Why would my mind bring that to me? It can't manufacture this.
yeah.
Where'd it come from? So how what precipitated or triggered then the release of that memory? Can you remember?
I At the time I thought it was so I'd started seeing a guy, and I hadn't I've hardly had any boyfriends and partners, to be honest. But I started seeing a guy um who I've known for years, literally since I was like 17. But anyway, so he was a friend of my cousin, and my cousin
Oh.
used to do tattooing. And so the boyfriend that I was with for a bit, he's got tattoos on him that my cousin had done. And I think it was that there was something about
Mhm.
just knowing that my cousin had done those, and then this guy touching me. It's just, oh, so yeah,
Oh,
that I
so
think, but it
did you
didn't
did you
happen straight away. It still took a while, but I still think that's what had happened.
mhm. Well, and that's a logical, that's logical. So where has your mother come around you and help facilitate your healing today?
No, no, I have very limited contact with her at all.
And what
So
and what about your father?
sadly, Dad died
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
2017. So yeah, sadly, Dad died. So I'd told Dad about abuse, but we never had a conversation about it.
Mm,
So I went and told him, but it must have just been a bit like me having the flashback. It was like, must have been so overwhelming for him to be told that.
right.
Um,
He didn't know what to do.
yeah. So we never actually had a conversation about, we never spoke about it again. But I know that he did speak to my sister slightly. I'm sure he spoke to my stepmother, but but yeah. So it is sad. It's so sad because he's a good dad.
Hmm.
I
That
think it
well,
was
that's
just so,
that's wonderful. What
yeah.
tell me about your sister in this story. Did she have any time with or exposure with this headmaster, and did you guys discuss this together?
No, so there's a difference. So I've got two sisters, and there's a difference in our ages. So as far as I know, they didn't. Um, they've both been abused, but they've been abused by different people.
Ah, I'm so sorry to hear that. It's so prevalent, Juanita. They say 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men, but only 20% of people report. So I think those numbers
Yeah,
fail desperately. I just don't think that they're accurate on any level. So do you and your
yeah.
sisters then help each other through the support and around healing?
We do. We try to.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we do. We try to. Yeah.
So boy, the effect of this in your life, I heard you say, I haven't had many boyfriends. So you haven't been married? Do you have
Yeah. So
children?
I I was married, or I am still married actually, because he still hasn't signed the divorce paper. That's why I'm Miller on here, but I'm Phillips because Phillips is my maiden
Okay.
name. So,
Okay.
and on this, that's why I'm Miller on there. But so I was actually married for, I think it's something like 18 years.
Okay.
Like I say, in actual, in legality, we're still married. But um, so when I've So in this last 2 years, when I've remembered being raped by my cousin, then I started doing lots of work on myself.
Hmm.
I started therapy. I just finding lots of my own stuff as well. Um, and then in my healing journey that I've been on, I then realized that my husband that I'd been with, because we were still friends at this point, my husband that I'd been with had actually was still an abuser, but I'd never recognized it.
Mhm.
So he had been having, I still say it like this, and it's like, again, it's like a minimization of it. So I say that he had been having non-consensual sex with me.
Mhm.
But so because he'd never been violent with me, I was used to violence when I met him. I'd been in a violent relationship before that, and I also had a cousin when I was growing up that was violent with me throughout me being a child and growing up. So because there wasn't any violence with it, I didn't recognize it.
Mhm.
And I literally
Right.
didn't recognize it until this last, well, actually like 18 months.
Right. I mean,
So
and I understand that because we almost get accustomed to being mistreated and it's all we know. And listening
yeah,
to you, it sounds like you might have had multiple abusers as at the same time in your childhood, Juanita. If you have this headmaster and then this abusive, aggressive cousin, that's
yeah,
like you were getting targeted from more than one place.
yeah. So I was, yeah. So yeah, I had a cousin who's a few years older than me, um, who'd lived with us on and off, on and off.
Ah,
Um, but yeah, very abusive with the violence as well, but sexually abusive. Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's a lot for a little girl to handle. You don't have any safe place to go.
No, grandparents were grandparents were safe. So
Oh,
I'm
that's good.
really lucky to have. And I also had a guy called, he wasn't a real uncle, but I had a guy called Uncle Joe, who again literally restored or gave me some, it's not even restored, gave me some faith
Hmm.
that there can be good. They're not always like that because yeah.
I love
So
that.
it's,
It
it's,
it does.
it's
Yeah.
not
It.
the whole of the world is like that.
Oh, say that again.
So yeah, if I hadn't had these certain people like him,
Hmm.
then you'd literally think, because you're getting bombarded all over, that yeah, I would have thought that the whole world was like that and that all men were like that. It
Right.
distanced me from my dad because I was so frightened that my dad was going to turn out to be like what seemed to me like all the people around, that I literally did, like, yeah, distance myself from like hugs with him and stuff. And I remember that at quite a young age, suddenly,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
not liking being tickled and stuff. But I mean, yeah, he was a good dad. It's like,
right. But you don't
yeah,
know because you have all this fear of
yeah, so
violation.
you're like, yeah, literally
Right.
just trying to get away. Yeah,
Wow. That's a heavy childhood that you just explained. And
yeah,
our minds do want to do this sort of minimization with it because that's a lot. I mean, as I listen to you, you just that's a lot, Juanita. And so that's wonderful that you've moved into healing because life isn't a dress rehearsal, right? This is not,
yeah,
we don't get to do this again. And so at any point in our life is the right time to start putting ourselves first and saying, no more.
yeah,
I'm no more abuse. I'm not going to tolerate more. So I
yeah,
like to ask in these situations because um, children are so desperately lonely when we're being abused like that. Like you said, even you pushed your father away. It's a desperately lonely state to live in. Where did you see God, if at all, in your childhood?
I'm. I want to say I'm so lucky because I am so lucky. Somehow I, not that I've visually seen him next to me, but I've always felt that he was close to me, that he was right there with me.
That's people have different things. I really feel like met him somewhere when I was 3 before we moved out of this house. And I have to tell you, Juanita, my mom was like, you shouldn't know him. We didn't teach you. But I did feel I had a terrible childhood, and he was always there for me. But I'm always curious to people because without that, it has to be desperately alone, right? And so I love hearing that you did feel that he was with you, because doesn't it leave this sort of hope that tomorrow might look better?
Yeah, I'd always I had this thing that I felt like I'd been chosen.
Oh,
I
that's
just, I
beautiful.
literally felt like I'd been chosen by him because I don't even like saying it because it makes me I feel like I'm like bigging myself up. Um, but I felt like I'd been chosen because I was stronger than the next person.
Oh, you mean chosen for abuse or
So
chosen
yeah,
for God to find you?
yeah, chosen for abuse. Chosen
Oh,
for abuse. I literally feel like God had chosen me for abuse. It's because yeah, literally that. And I do the same with my sister because I'm the eldest as well. I think I'm strong, you know, that's my it's almost like my role that I'd been given this, it's almost like my job.
do you still
So,
feel,
but obviously now looking, I mean, maybe I still do. Yeah, I think I probably still do
interesting?
in a way.
Well, it's that
I don't
martyr.
feel bad. I don't feel like, yeah, doesn't make
Uh,
me feel bad though. It's just,
well, yeah. I mean, I remember leaving my parents' house and I felt like I'd been chosen for a martyr in life. Like if Jesus was born to die, I was born to suffer. That's what it felt like to me. I've tried to debunk some of those beliefs because I don't think that God wanted me hurt. I don't think that God put me in that family, although I was in that family, and I came through it and I witnessed and had horrible things happen to me. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to hope now at my age that God intends for us to have a better life. But I understand exactly what you're talking about. I do understand that because
yeah,
I felt like I was born to be a martyr. I couldn't make any other sense out of it when I was a child.
yeah. Yeah, no, do you know what? I was thinking, yeah, I still do feel it because I feel like I've had to go through all this to get to where I am now so that I can share it with the world. And here I am with you talking
Yeah, I
to the
mean,
world.
I under
So
ultimate. Yeah, I get that.
yeah,
Ultimate healing to me is when you get to the place where I don't believe we hit a nirvana where there is no pain in life anymore, or we get to this place where we might not have a memory when we're 70 or 80. But I do think that giving back, Juanita, like what we're doing today, I think it is the ultimate place for trauma survivors and victims to give back. And it is a sort of a grander healing, right? That I'm going to take this experience and I'm going to use it for
yeah,
good. And so, in that way, I believe 100% that that's a beautiful design for a horrible place that we start in. But I don't know if God, I don't, I have a hard time now today believing that God was in the design of me being hurt as a child. My mother actually told me that God designs those things. I don't think he does. I think that he can't stop it. This is just my belief that he can't stop it
yeah,
yet because of human choice. And we all want choice. We love choice. Well, bad people make really bad choices, but I don't think God are in those choices. But anyway, so that's beautiful to hear. I love that. I'm so sorry to hear that your mother isn't beside you. I mean, it makes it hard for us as survivors to not have family with us, but so often if we had great, strong parents next to us, the abuse probably wouldn't have continued for years. And so, anyway, I just want to acknowledge that and say, I'm sorry, moms and fathers should be next to us. And I'm sorry that your dad's gone and that he gave you the love he could. But,
yeah,
it's so much that you have your sisters is a beautiful thing.
yeah, 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 it is.
So
Yeah,
so these residual effects that are in our life, I blog a lot. And one of the blogs I did the other day was when denial can actually become damaging to us in life. In the beginning of our life, and all of this stuff is happening to us, denial, I believe, is just this gift from ourselves and God to say, you can't handle this right now. But as life moves on, to embrace our story is actually where freedom lives. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It really does.
Fine. But so denial was a gift in our past to survive where we came from. But as we heal and grow, embracing our story is where freedom lives. And I just wondered what that freedom looks like you today in a different form than it looked like in the past. Like you said, you're now getting a divorce and all of those things to me. Talk to me about how that freedom is playing out in your life today.
Yeah, so I I feel like I'm in a better place than I've ever been, even though it's been horrendous getting here.
I get it.
Um, yeah, and I'm still struggling so much with dissociation. I'm so dissociated. So hence it was almost like, yeah, that's why I
Yeah,
forget what's just being
I
said to me. It's like,
understand.
oh no. So I think it's like I thought of too many things. But yeah, I just I feel like I was trying to push all of, even though lots of it I hadn't remembered, didn't even know about it, but I was still pushing all the trauma and everything back down, trying to get on with life, but actually just sort of plodding through
Right.
and not really. I was surviving. That's literally what was happening. I was surviving, but I wasn't really living. Um, so I almost have to. It's like I'm sort of glad that everything's happened and that I've hit this absolute crescendo with everything. Um, and so, yeah, I feel freer than I've ever been. So I feel like I'm just on a mission, but I really am early days on my mission of
Right.
to just keep talking, just
Well,
keep
and
talking
right.
about
I want to thank you. That dissociation and all of that, when our memories start coming back, I went to counseling pretty heavy for about 20 years. I had to. I mean, I witnessed a murder when I was 3 at the hands of my
it.
father. And all of these things made it very complicated for me to be in life. I'd go to my job, but I couldn't function in relationships with men well. And so I just want to acknowledge and honor that you're here with me and you're talking today. I think it's so important for us to share what the journey looks like. And like you said, I'm on the journey and I'm beginning it in the grandest, broadest way that I have. And it is messy, isn't it? Healing's very messy, but it
It is.
feels wonderful. It feels good though, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
It really does. It does. I can't wait to see where I am this time next year. But
Yes.
when I'm looking back to, even where when I'm looking back to where I was 3 months ago or even 6 months ago,
Right.
yeah, it's like I'm doing it now. But yeah, I feel like there's just no turning back. I'm never going to stop talking about the abuse that's happened to me. And trying to verbalize what
Mhm.
it's done to me, and yeah, and even what I went through. So this has been a great challenge for me today again. And yeah, and just and I just want to give hope to other people that there is life. We can, there's better. We can do it. We can get through it.
And I
Because
love
here
that.
I am,
It's
I feel like I'm living proof that we can.
exactly
And, and the best you can do, it's like it's fine to be. Because I feel like a lot of the time I just don't make any sense. I struggle still to get my words out. I'm, like I say, I'm so dissociated. But I've only just realized that. It's like, so
right.
it's like, oh, seriously.
Well, and it's a beautiful thing. I had someone talk to me the other day about an interview I did, and this person said, oh, I found myself so much in her story. She just kind of rambled and went here and there. And you know what? You know why I left that just the way it was? Because millions of us find ourselves in the story of it's a mess, but I'm searching. It doesn't seem logical right now, but I know it's reasonable. All of these things we know it in our
Yeah.
soul that we're going in the right direction, but sometimes it seems like we're scurrying about and we're not sure where we're going. And that is what healing looks like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Like you say, messy. I like that because
It
it
is
is. It
very
really is
messy.
messy. It's
It's
so
very nice,
messy.
but it feels wonderful. And so we're at time. I can't believe that we're actually at an hour. It's
I can't
been,
either.
I know it. Yeah, I could go on and talk to you for so long. It's been so beautiful to spend this time with you. I mean that from my heart, just to sit here with you and listen to you. I like to give the last few minutes just back to you, to share anything that you feel is important for the person listening. These have just been so beautiful. I use a lot of clips here and there. So I just want to give it back to you, Juanita, and take as much time as you want to just share with the viewer who's listening or watching, because it's on both, what you find important about where you are, and what is the message of hope that you want to leave.
Oh, if I can get through it, I would love to leave on a poem.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that.
So I'm gonna like try and brace myself. And
Take your time. I
um,
want you to take your time.
yeah. Okay, so this is my poem, and it's called The Journey. It's very metaphorical, like lots of my little or maybe all of my poems. But yeah, so we're gonna. That's me in my bear because I've got my little bear here.
I love it. I love it. I
And
love
this is
it.
another thing that's got me through always. Not that this particular bear's been with me, maybe he's been with me a long time, but cuddlies, little things to cuddle, absolutely.
I get that.
So the journey. So here we go. We'll give it a shot. So I went on a journey, a mountain to climb. I know when I get there, I'll find peace of mind. This path, it's not easy. It's rocky and steep. Sometimes I lose footing and fall to my knees. Past a field full of daisies and my friends the oak trees, till I come to a clearing where I can just breathe. I carry on upwards with dead ends galore. I'm hungry and thirsty and my feet are now sore. I push through the tiredness, my struggle, my plight. Just a few steps before me, the end's now in sight. At last, at the summit, what a beautiful view. You can fill in here what fits best for you. I thank everything in me for reaching this scene. I look on in amazement at where I have just been. Then I notice beside me a lovely old shack. Inside are my ancestors having a chat. They fill me with sarnies and plenty of tea. They give me a gift box that's meant just for me. The day's getting late now. I feel I must go. My essence renewed with a wondrous glow. On the way down, an easier track, then stretched out before me and welcoming me back. A carpeted meadow of sweet buttercups that I had not noticed when on my way up. When out of the box comes a melodic sound. I'll open it here now I'm back on home ground. Inside the box was a bird to set free. She gave back the confidence stolen from me. She's flying to your house, so open the door. She's holding inside her what you're searching for.
Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. Juanita, we could not close at a better moment in time. Thank you with all of me for being here with us today. I'm tearing up. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's talk
Thank you for
soon.
having us.
Absolutely. I'll
Oh,
see you on the
thank
next episode of Let's Talk About It.
Lovely to speak to you, Jodie.
Lovely to speak to you. Bye-bye.